A lovely good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show, where we talk politics, policy, and governance, and just ensuring that we also keep in touch in terms of what is your current perspectives on matters relating to policy, politics, as well as governance in the country. For we do understand that these are things that we cannot run away from, for they are part of our daily lives. They talk all issues relating to the meal prices, issues relating to the country's political space, issues relating to different laws that might be also come across your particular happening at that particular juncture of what you might be doing in your life, on your day-to-day life. And thank you so much for coming live to you via our DSTV channel, that is channel 274, Go TV channel 25, Top Star channel 106, Facebook, as well as YouTube. And we do appreciate if you get to interact with us via this platform. I'm your host, Nelson Zulu, and Miriam Kaimba will be joining me at a particular time. And right about now, let's go direct into the health corner as we get to have a chat or get to listen from one of our doctors as they get to get us through the insights in terms of keeping our health lives.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Rafat Basit Masa. I'm coming from Medical Women's Association of Zambia, MWAZ, and I'm working in University Teaching Hospital as a general surgeon. It's wonderful to have you back again. We have been talking about burns in the last 3 days. We have talked about introduction, we've talked about the causes of burns, we've talked about the symptoms of burns, we have talked about the treatment of burns. Burns, it's a very, very important topic. As I mentioned earlier on, that we have a lot of children, a lot of adults that we have been receiving who are getting burned, especially in the cold season. They are getting burned more and they are coming to our healthcare. And some of them were losing them, some of them were managing to get them back into their life, though not in full form. So when you are burned, it actually changes your life completely. Remember that your whole life changes. You end up having scars, and you start to feel different from the other people around you. You start to feel depressed, you start to feel sad, you start to feel, why me? But some of these things can be avoided, or especially your children. Imagine a child of yours who has been playing around, who has been going to school, suddenly gets burned and loses all the functions of going to school, being happy again. He's always devastated. He or she is always devastated, crying, irritable, has lost hopes. So we can all avoid by simple steps, by making sure that we are always looking after our children and ourselves. So today we are going to talk about complications of burns. You know, burns has been a very devastating injury worldwide, and a lot of people suffer from it. Complications take place. For example, you get burned. One of the complications are you get big scars. You know, you get big scars. Sometimes you lose function in that hand or leg. That makes your life so difficult for you. Remember that we all want to work, we all want to play, we all want to go to school, we all want to be active, but because you've been burnt before and you cannot move one part of your body, that makes your life very, very difficult. And when you're burnt severely, some of the things which you go through are like your heart starts to fail because you've been burnt so badly. You get severe infection, you get so bad infection, serious infections, that you may not even overcome them. Sometimes we lose those people who actually get deep burns. Some of the complications are inhalation burns. For example, you were in a house and you are sleeping with a candle, which is quite common, and the candle falls on your blanket and you get burnt totally, which you get actually more than 50% burns in your body. So in those cases, you find that you actually inhaled so much of smoke into your lungs that your lungs are now failing, and they are causing so much of difficulties for you to breathe. You end up being in ICU because you are failing to breathe. We need to help you to breathe, you know. So those are complications of getting burns. Some of the burns are also severe anemia. You get loss of blood. As you get burned, remember that those burns have to be always cleaned. Sometimes they have to be taken to theater for cleaning because you're so much in pain. So you find that those burns become so, as you're cleaning those burns, you're making some bleeding to occur. So imagine every day you're bleeding from those burns. You end up with low blood hemoglobin level, then you need to be transfused. Then nutritional support. You find that especially in low income places, you find that you don't have proper nutritional support. You can't afford what needs to be taken for you to get back into your full form. So you find your nutritional support is very, very, very poor, and you end up getting malnourished because of the same burns. So it's also one of the complications of burns. Then you find that you get severe contractures, those contractures where you can't completely function one part of your body because of really hard scar that has been formed. So even in those situations, you find that if you're a person who has been working and you've been using your right hand all the time, and imagine that your right hand has become stiff and you cannot work anymore, that becomes very, very devastating, very, very difficult, and it makes our environment very, very difficult. Sometimes you find that you've been electrocuted. You find your organs have been burnt, and your liver, your stomach have been burnt because of the same electrical shock. Those are very, very difficult burns to handle. So all these things can be avoided. All these things can be avoided just by simple precautions. Just ensure that wherever you are, however you are, you make sure you are protected and you're keeping your children protected as well, because it becomes very, very difficult. And some of the other complications are, you find that your burns are so severe that you will need that part of your body to be cut off completely. So those are also complications of burns. So all these complications of burns can be avoided just by our simple steps. Let's ensure that we help one another not to go into these things. We also have lots of accidents that take place, and you find that people also get burned. They are called friction burns. They also get burned severely. They get burned, they lose their limbs, they lose part of the body, which is also very, very difficult and devastating for our people in our environment. We understand that in the low, especially in the low income families, you find that people can't afford to get a proper stove, and they can't manage to pay a lot of electricity bills. So you find that they end up using braziers. So those braziers are quite, they are quite dangerous especially for children, because you find that you may be cooking and you leave even for 10 minutes, you find a child just finds himself into that pot and completely burned. And you come to our hospital, we do everything for you. Sometimes we lose, every year we are losing a lot of children with these burns, with these deep burns. So these things can simply be avoided. Make sure that when you're cooking in a brazier or something, make sure that you keep away from children, and even yourself, make sure that you should be careful. So these are basically the complications of burns. Sometimes you also have what we call kidney failure, because you've been burned so severely. You are becoming so dehydrated, so much of fluid is coming out from your body because you've been burned, and there's so much fluid you're losing out. So you find that your kidneys also start to dysfunction. They start to lose their function, and they end up failing, which is also devastating for you to have kidney failure because of the same burns. Then burns on the face are so devastating because you have lost the look of yourself. Everybody has the right to look beautiful. Everyone has the right to look wonderful, dress up wonderful. This is what we all want. But because of getting burned, you find that sometimes your face, your ears, your nose, everything gets completely distracted, and sometimes you may find that they can never be fixed because some injuries are so deep that there is nothing much that can be done. So all these things, like I said, can always be avoided. So let's ensure that we avoid injuries to ourselves and to our loved ones. My name's Dr. Rafat Basit Masa. I'm coming from Medical Women's Association of Zambia, MWAZ. Please stay tuned and keep watching Camnet, because every day when you watch something, there's always something that you're always learning. You're learning a lot about health care, which we all need to know. They are going to prevent yourselves and your loved ones from getting injured, protect yourself from a lot of complications. Stay tuned with us with Camnet channel, because we'll be every day talking about something different with our channel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rafat Masa, right there, just giving us insight in terms of complications of burns. And so importantly for me, one point that stood out was the fact that burns can also culminate in someone having kidney failure, which I didn't know. And these are important healthy tips that you and I need to follow. And just like we keep on indicating to say, you can also be giving us tips in terms of what topics you really need to be covered under that segment. And let's get to move on as we get to look at the money market this morning and get to see how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles. For we've seen a recurrent appreciation in recent days. We're seeing that momentum being maintained even as we get to proceed in these other particular days. Let's get to look at the money market this morning. There you have it on your screen. The United States dollar buying at 22 kwacha 0.55 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 0.99 ngwe. The euro is buying at 24 kwacha 0.37 ngwe and selling at 24 kwacha 0.85 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 0.20 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 0.22 ngwe. The Great British pound is buying at 28 kwacha 0.47 ngwe and selling at 29 kwacha 0.03 ngwe. The update is at exactly 7:23 this morning. Remember that these exchange rates, they vary from bank to bank, and I know for some time there's been an uproar in terms of what exactly is happening to the kwacha, because we saw it even rising as far as 26 somewhere there, and a lot of concerns kept on coming through, especially from different stakeholders. For we also know that the citizens themselves are the major stakeholders when it comes to this issue. The one topic that they're going to relate to is the fact that fuel prices, as well as the trickling down to the transport sector now, where you see bus fares, taxi fares also being increased, and then find that this person still gets paid the same amount as the previous month. But what happens to them? These are other concerns that have always come at a time when people are going to talk about the issue of the kwacha rather depreciating. But that we've seen that the kwacha is appreciating now. The biggest question or biggest elephant in the room is the fact that is this appreciation trickling down to that business owner down there on the streets of Lusaka or in the streets of Ndola or in any other parts of the country? Is it also trickling down to that home where having 3 meals in a day is a challenge? For we know that assurances have been placed on the table by the current administration that going forward things are going to be better, and there's just need for us to keep in that hope and ensure that we keep ourselves in check and things are going to balance. Let's get into the zooming headline segment, where you too also can give us your contribution via the numbers on your screen, as we safely confirm that the numbers or the phone lines are now open, where you too can give us your perspectives in terms of the stories that we're going to play for you this morning. And let's get to kickstart the issue or the zooming headline segment this morning with a story from Luwingu as well as DMMU, who are actually speaking all issues relating to the country's agriculture sector following a dry spell that is being experienced. And this our story that we get to look at this morning is Luwingu District Agriculture Coordinator Vincent Njovu has encouraged farmers in the district not to fall prey to briefcase buyers. Mr. Njovu says that there is a need to put in place stringent measures to ensure that farm produce is prevented against unscrupulous individuals. He adds that the district is expected to record a bumper harvest in the next crop harvesting season, attributing it to the availability of quality rainfall and the early distribution of farm inputs by the government. We also get to look at this story from the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, who says that resources will be made available to aid or help drought victims affected by the ongoing El Nino-induced dry spells in the country. DMMU National Coordinator Dr. Gabriel Paulin says government understands the variations of the weather conditions and secured a drought insurance cover through the African Risk Capacity Program under the African Union AU, of which Zambia is a member. Let's get to look at those stories, and we'll be back on the other side. And it is going to be very imperative to also hear from you in terms of you being a farmer who's been hit by this dry spell. How is the situation in your area? Are there any other adaptive measures that you are putting in place in ensuring that those crops of yours are not affected by this dry spell? In the meantime, let's get to look at those stories.
That have been adversely affected, but looking at this northern part, the northern province, we are at an advantage. We have good rains and we expect a good harvest. So my encouragement to the farmers out there is that let them follow the agronomic practices religiously. When it is time to weed, let them weed properly. If it is time to apply fertilizer, let them apply properly, so that as the northern province, or in Luwingu in particular, we can have that bumper harvest, which we can also be able to feed these other provinces that are currently having dry spells. And also, I would encourage the farmers to go into also beans production, because looking at February and looking at our district, we have very good soils that are good for actually beans production. And beans, to talk about it, it's one of the major crops that are grown here in Luwingu district. So we are encouraging farmers to go into that, let them plant a lot. The rains are still with us, so that even in that area, we diversify other than looking at the staple crop, which is maize. And also, when they produce, they have that good harvest. We urge them to look at the household food security, first of all. Keep what is enough for the household, then consider selling that excess. And
with mielie meal prices ranging from 250 to 400 kwacha and a dry spell in the southern, western and central parts of the country, sections of society have questioned the country's preparedness for possible drought and how food secure the nation is. Responding to this, Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit National Coordinator Dr. Gabriel Paulin says resources have already been put in place to prevent hunger in drought-affected areas. Speaking in an interview, Dr. Paulin reveals that the World Food Programme has procured on behalf of the Zambian government a drought insurance cover that will be used to mitigate the impact of the climate crisis.
it was proactive by undertaking a drought insurance policy cover through the African Risk Capacity, which is basically an agency of the African Union, and Zambia, as you know, is a member of the African Union. In 2022, Zambia got a payout of $5.3 million, and this was used to support vulnerable people in the districts that had been inundated by prolonged dry spells. So we anticipate a similar or higher payout, higher in the sense that the scale of devastation so far, based on the anecdotal data that we have, based on observation, that situation is actually much more substantial this time around, but also a higher payout because we do have a replica scenario in which case the World Food Programme has also procured on behalf of the Zambian government a.
He further says that he is optimistic about the proactiveness of the government in ensuring food security in the country.
That will mitigate disaster so that our developmental aspirations are not derailed. So resources will be made available in order to attend to that. But also government is re-looking at the existing farming practices, and the flagship ministry of the New Dawn government, the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, is also spearheading a campaign to replant trees to ensure that farmers understand the environment.
Meanwhile, Minister of Agriculture Ruben Mtolo has encouraged farmers to diversify and grow drought-resistant crops.
Is resistant to drought. Cassava is quite resistant to drought, and many other fruits, millet, etc. So we are encouraging that, and that is why on our FISIC program, if you noticed, we increased from just maize, we put 7 other crops so that a farmer can choose to.
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
That is the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit that are actually assuring that funds have been made available to ensure that they avert the challenges that would definitely come with a dry spell, especially on the country's food security. And it's so heartwarming that we get to have such assurances being given by government. It shows that government is also concerned and would like to see one of these measures being implemented so that the country's citizenry is not affected when it comes to the aspect of food. And let's get to the community and bring it to Mutendere, where traders at Kazimai Market in Lusaka's Mutendere Township have appealed to relevant authorities to expedite roadworks in the area. The traders say the gravel that is meant to be used on the roads has been left unattended to for over a month now. We get to look at that story, and we'll be back as we get to introduce a topic to you that also we get to hear from you in terms of what is your perspective as we come back.
A good road network is the backbone of any economic activity for any given country and its citizens. However, this is not the case, as what was regarded a good gesture has turned out to be a detrimental to the day-to-day life of marketeers and motorists of Mtendere, Kazimai Market, Munali constituency. The concerns follows the unattended heaps of gravel which have been placed at different points of the road, waiting to be utilized for road rehabilitation in the township. The marketeers talked to this journalist explained that the unattended gravel has brought about mobility challenges in the market and affect business. One of the motorists says the gravel has led to the formation of a one-way road, causing traffic jams and contravening by bus drivers.
After my doti and almost 3 weeks. Without using one lane. So they didn't using a emoji, but basically traffic of the Mango pit.
Another explained that it is unclear whether the rehabilitation works is under the RDA or a CDF project, for it has stalled for over 2 weeks.
Mami musabiza makamera ndoda yaku Kazimai Market kuno kumtendere navutika pene bana byunjikira.
Meanwhile, Area Councillor Boniface Chibeka, when reached for a comment, explains that the project is under RDA, who have not been on site for some time now.
Okay, if you're getting me, I was saying that I've been in contact with the people who are working from there almost on daily basis, and I'm being promised almost on daily basis that they are going to come, they're going to be available, but day in, day out is just passing without them again coming. No, making a call, unless me myself I call.
A good road is essential for fast accessibility and more effective mobility. Prudence Chibwe, Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Thank you so much, Prudence Chibwe, for that story that is so interesting, coming through from Mutendere, where residents really want this unattended gravel to be worked on the road and ensure that things get also to move in. Just like I did also indicate earlier that we get to look at the topic this morning, your perspective on President Hakainde Hichilema calling for training of his cabinet minister to ensure that there is effectiveness in the work they do for the country. What is your opinion? Is there an observation that these cabinet ministers need or lack training? Because this call comes at the backdrop that the president wants effectiveness and in these crucial national issues. One of the story that we'll get to look at, as it reads, President Hakainde Hichilema has underscored the importance of well-informed cabinet ministers in handling crucial national issues. Speaking at the economic governance training held at the Mulungushi Conference Center on Wednesday, the head of state emphasized the need for thorough training to ensure that decisions affecting the public well-being are effectively managed. President Hichilema highlighted that the training of those serving the public is paramount, aiming to equip cabinet ministers with the necessary knowledge and skills. He stressed that each minister should be proficient in translating the government's vision into clear policies that would directly benefit the people. The training currently underway is being conducted in collaboration with the South African School of Governance, the Secretary to the Cabinet, and the National Institute for Public Administration, NIPA.
Let's also play it back-to-back with a story where advocates for the declaration of Zambia's Christian nation chairperson, Bishop Billy Mfula, has advised Zambians to cultivate a culture of prayer. Speaking at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross in Lusaka during national prayers for the healing of the country, the bishop says human interventions can only be successful with God.
That we must return to training those that work for the public, sharpen their skills, benchmark, let them benchmark. And that's why we're very happy to have the Prof from South Africa. And thank you to President Ramaphosa for allowing you to come and work with us in this journey. We're very grateful for that. Benchmarking is very important. Knowledge sharing, no need to reinvent the wheel. Very, very important. I know many of us, after we've done our bachelor's, we feel very proud, we feel very educated. When we do our masters, it's, this is it. This is it, I've arrived. We want to do our PhDs, we said everything is with us. No. Learning is a continuous process until we die. I call myself a perpetual student. We must be perpetual students. So we're grateful for the combination, the array of skills that Secretary of Cabinet, that together with NIPA and the School of Government in South Africa, you've been able to assemble. This is extremely important, and I personally am enthused about it. But let's make the best out of it. So, I won't say the obvious things you expect me to say. Our vision, our
The Christian faithful led by various clergymen have met in Lusaka for prayers to seek God intervention in various challenges the country is faced with. The prayers held at Cathedral of the Holy Cross Wednesday afternoon were organized by the advocates for Zambia as a Christian nation, with the country among several in southern Africa affected by the El Nino weather pattern resulting in dry spells in the southern half of the country. Praying for the rains was among the priority.
Like Elisha, and Elisha prayed, he stopped the rain and the rain stopped. And the time came, he prayed, he called the rain and the rain came. I believe we are all children of the Most High. Christ is in us. And if Christ is in us, what happened to Elisha can happen to us.
In his Purpose of Prayers address, advocates for declaration of Zambia as a Christian nation chairperson, bidding for challenge Zambians to cultivate a culture of prayer.
Partner with our political leaders as we get to call upon the name of the Lord. Beloveds, what makes man man is that man has his own limitations. We can provide the family implements to the farmers. We may never give the farmers rain. It is God.
Bishop Mfura says Zambia, being a Christian nation, its leaders should also honor God.
As Zambia will give back the glory to God. This goes to all our leaders, both in the ruling party and in the opposition. Governing in a nation like Zambia, one must honor God, because God will not allow any leader to get self-glory for any kind of action. We are not like any other nation.
The players also attracted politicians, including former President Edgar Lungu, among others. For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
Those are two stories that made headlines in our news yesterday, where we saw the president calling for the training of his cabinet ministers, as well as where we saw the church there calling for everyone to come on board and ensure that we pray to God, so that God can intervene in some of the issues that the country is currently facing. Among those prayers that we saw that we did hear is that they were praying for the rains. And also you do understand that for quite some time as a country we have not been having any rainfall, and this has greatly affected a lot of farmers, especially in the southern part of Zambia, where some maize, some fields have even, dried up, and farmers have continued, to lament. But anyway, we are glad that the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit have come on board and said, they will provide some assistance to those farmers.
Yeah, so that is also interesting. But for me, I think also what was eye-catchy from the story of the president, the fact that he's calling for training of his cabinet ministers.
Some have said it's a waste of resources, given the fact that in the cabinet minister we also have people like the finance minister, Dr. Stomeko Musokotwane, who has great experience because he has, he has served in various government administrations. We also have seen Sylvia Maseo as well as Felix Mutati, who also served under the MMD as well as the PF. So others are saying it's a waste of resources, while others are saying this is quite late because he was supposed to call for this earlier on and not now.
Yeah, but for me, I think one question that I would also ask is the fact that how does such a call come to the public? Is it that the president has observed some lack of training within his cabinet ministers, or is there some sort of complacency that he has seen in terms of being effective and delivering to the needs of the citizens? I think that is a question I would like to find out, because obviously you can't call for training of your cabinet ministers if you know that they're well able. Is he indirectly indicating that they're not able to manage?
They're not up to task to do the job.
Exactly.
One other thing interesting fact, maybe we would want to think on his behalf, is for continuous and improved delivery of service. I think that's the more reason why he's calling for that.
Yes, I think the call is okay.
Yes.
But look, they're all going to be these questions that are going to be asked. Because for me, honestly, I would say there's always been an old saying here in Zambia where you say, "Skulu sisi." So even doctors to become Sokotwane, if he says, "I want to upgrade, I want to go back or do a refresher course," he's free because that is retraining. And he says, "I want to improve my effectiveness in terms of delivering to the country's need, even as I serve as Minister of Finance." So, in as much as that call comes in, I think it is something that is doable, but these other questions need to be also looked at.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
You are through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
My name is Nikandi.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, my contribution is training of government officers. Hello?
Yes, we can get you.
Yeah, first of all, it should be understood that this mandate by NIPA is just being reintroduced. This is what was happening even before. You could not have a person being appointed as a demonstrator, for example, or a director of government, and then they don't go through that kind of program at NIPA. So for me, it's a very effective program. It actually gives the skills for people to serve in government. That's where even the policies of government are being reshaped, and so you get to have very effective people serving in government. So, because government is quite complex. It's not like any other place where you just there are rules and regulations, the issue of code of conduct. All those things are supposed to be emphasized in that kind of training. So I want to commend the government through the president for this initiative. It's long overdue. In my view, I can say thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming through. Yeah, he's saying it's a welcome move, of which I also feel that it's a welcome move, but you know, questions always will rise, especially from stakeholders, especially those from the opposition. I shouldn't make it categorical here, that are going to also ask to say, this is an administration that has said we are running under a very critical fiscal space. We need to maintain our financial discipline. Where is the money going to be coming from to sponsor these ministers to undergo this training? Those are some of the questions that might come. But for me, just like our caller did indicate there to say, it is very important that these personnel that are holding public offices are taken to school, enhance their training. It is very important because, look, they're the ones that are making decisions on behalf of many Zambians out there. There are a lot of people that are suffering in Shangombo. And if a policy is not is not in good faith, it affects almost everyone. So it starts at the point of where someone is well able in terms of trying to put policies that are going to work for the country.
In case you have just joined us, hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You are through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
Thank you so much. This is the voice of, now the voice of on the line, the answer from my mobile.
It's good to know that you're watching us this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you, sir. First and foremost, I want to totally agree with what the hard work from the culture, your brother has just said. We must understand that in terms of endurance, the crop, the action, the weather forecast projected the 2024, and the what action given out. At this point, I know the lesson. What we are likely to get that rate. That is the time that the government provides the farmers, that we're willing to go for drought resistance and same as well. I'm talking like this as a farmer as well, at the same time as that is market by the futures between 102 Region 1 is that area, very close, exports, and this is our technical rate bearing rate. That is the idea. Then again, Midland, that is part of also and some other stuff. Southern forest started, also west by the deforestation. So that's exactly what they're supposed to do. That is the best. What can I say? But that's what the president dictates to that through the minister and the executive officer. Through the agriculture, coordinator. Now comes to the issue of the back player, which was actually I think it was called as like that, but nevertheless, God is ready to answer in time. But I want to warn the other politicians that they should not move God, particularly the former head of state. That man is actually an absolute and ridiculous hypocrite. That man is under his name when people are being slaughtered, like I don't know. It is under his regime when people from south and west and most western provinces they are being reduced the rate of people with no apparent reason. It was under that was dealing for the recruitment of police. Nothing. There was no from coming from southern province, western province. So why is he pretend? Who can I support for him? That man is the devil. I thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution there.
Voice of Northern Province.
Hello, good morning. Hello? Okay, we seem to have lost that caller, but please do get in touch with us and contribute to our discussion this morning. We are looking at, or rather would like to get your own view or opinion for the president calling for the training of his cabinet ministers. What is your take over that issue? We did see the president yesterday call for this call when he launched the economic governance training for cabinet ministers administered by the National Institute of Public Administration, NIPA, in Lusaka. Yesterday, President Hichilema said to ensure efficiency and accountability in governance, top officials must work diligently. So this is a call coming from the president to have his cabinet ministers trained. What is your view out? What do you think about this? Those watching us live on Facebook, please do drop us that comment. Those watching us in the comfort of your home, you can get in touch with us by calling on the numbers that are running on your screen there. Let's get interacted. Give us your perspective on this issue. Moving on, Nelson, what other interesting stories do we have?
One other interesting stories we have, Miriam, this morning is also a story bordering on the aspect of agriculture as well as that of the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, Gilbert Perry, who has moved a motion before the Economic and Financial Crimes Court, High Court Division, to have former Deputy Inspector General of Police, Charity Katanga's property confiscated to the state, according to originating notice of motion filed before Edwin Mwanza, Chief Investigation Officer at DEC. He tells a court that following Katanga's conviction in the subordinate court, the 10 Higer buses and 1.5 million kwacha in the company account were process of crime and tainted property which should be forfeited to the state. We also get to look at a story where Opposition Patriotic Front, a Lunta Member of Parliament, Mutoteka Fires, challenged government to clear the air on the alleged infiltration of genetically modified mealie on the Zambian market. But Southern African Farmers Organization President Cedric Mulonda says the idea of selling GMO mealie in the country, GMO mealie rather, to the Democratic Republic of Congo is a measure aimed at suppressing the economic pressure the country is facing. Those are some of the two stories that we have in this morning, and I'm meant to believe that we also saw a comment in terms of those that are commenting on the conviction and sentencing of Madam Katanga.
Yes,
but
we have seen various comments coming through. Nelson, others are saying the sentence is the court was too lenient when passing that sentence. The 3 years is not enough. Others were calling for a more sentence stiffer, given the fact that this is a person who was in public office, and if lesser sentences are given to such individuals, it is very hard to deter would-be breakers of the law. However, you need to understand that for the court to come up with that sentence, there are a lot of factors that are being put in place and are considered when the court, finally pass its conviction. First of all, they need to look at the witness testimony. They need to look at the evidence that was presented before the courts of law. So all those issues need to be considered when passing a sentence. So most of the times, I know a lot of people would want to argue, no, it's small, no, it's what. But when the court pass it's a judgment, Nelson, you have to understand that all angles, all aspects of the particular case is looked at. Basically, like I mentioned, the witness, the evidence that was produced by the state, how the state argued its case, and the witness testimony also. Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to look at those two stories, and we'll be back continuing with the discussion on the other side.
Barely 2 days after conviction by the Lusaka Magistrate Court, former Deputy Inspector General of Police Charity Katanga has another legal case to defend. The Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, has taken a decisive step, filing an application with the Financial and Economic Crimes Court, High Court Division. The application aims to secure the forfeiture of 10 Higer buses in substantial sum exceeding 1.5 million kwacha linked to the former Deputy Inspector General of Police. According to Chief Investigations Officer Edwin Mwanza's affidavit, these assets are deemed proceeds of crime, justifying their forfeiture to the state following Katanga's conviction by the subordinate court. On Monday, the 19th of February 2024, Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili sentenced the former Inspector General of Police to 3 years simple imprisonment after establishing that the state had proved a case against her of proceeds of crime. Now, in the latest legal proceedings before court, the state argued through its submissions that the forfeited assets and fund should be transferred to them as they were acquired through illegal means. This high-profile case has drawn attention due to the involvement of a former top-ranking law enforcement official. Charity Katanga, who served as the Deputy Inspector General of Police under the Patriotic Front administration, has not yet responded to the application made by the Director of Public Prosecutions. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
For not importing any GMO mealie meal for local consumption. Government has, however, allowed ZNS and the private sector to import and transit mealie meal for the DRC market. This was done in order to A, protect the Zambian-produced non-GMO grain from being smuggled into neighboring countries and therefore ensure national food security.
This response by Minister of Agriculture Ruben Mutolo has raised questions among stakeholders who are questioning the safety of mealie meal being supplied in the country. This is against the backdrop that recently over 200 bags of imported Eagles mealie meal meant for the export to the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, despite the government refuting claims that there is no GMO mealie meal in the country, went missing at one of the country's border posts. Commenting on this matter, Lunte Member of Parliament Mutoto Kafwaya questions why the Minister of Agriculture dispelled the claims of importing GMO mealie meal, but the Zambia National Service allegedly issued a statement of stolen imported GMO mealie meal, further questioning the safety of consumers.
The other question is, how is ZNS accessing this GMO mealie meal? Is this part of the imports which is meant for export? Is this part of the imports which is being packed and sold all over in ShopRite and Pick and Pays? So if this is the same GMO, then the country is unsafe when it comes to the consumption of genetically modified foods. The law is being abrogated. But if this is meant for export, where is the morality in exporting GMO food to other countries which you yourself cannot consume?
But the Sub-Saharan African Farmers Organization President, Cedric Molonda, says the idea of selling GMO mealie meal to the Democratic Republic of Congo is well intended, so long safety is guaranteed, but calls for serious measures to be put in place to ensure the GMO mealie meal does not flood the Zambian market, for it is illegal.
It means we are getting maize at the same kwacha price, and we are selling it in Congo in US dollars. This helps the country with the inflow of the hard currency, which we are in dire need of to stabilize the kwacha against all major currencies. So the issue of are we eating GMO or are we not eating GMO? As a country, our position is no. We are a non-GMO or a consuming country, and we've got zero tolerance to genetically modified organisms, GMO positive.
However, when reached for a comment, Minister of Agriculture Ruben Mutolo assured to provide a comprehensive response on the matter. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka. Those were some of the stories that we did look at, because we know that also issues relating to GMO mealie meal have been topical in the country, and we've seen that the minister was there rubbishing this claim to say, look, we don't have any GMO in the country and we're not entertaining that. But one would question to say, if we don't have any GMO, why is it that over 200 bags of GMO mealie meal meant for Eagles milling under ZNS was stolen at Kasumbalesa border, and we are told that this mealie meal was destined for Democratic Republic of Congo? And now, Lunte Member of Parliament, Mtoto Kafwaya, is asking that question to say, if as a country you are unable to consume that GMO mealie meal, why are you transporting it to your neighbors?
Anyway, that is another interesting question that we have seen that has continued coming from various opposition politicians. But we have also seen that government chief spokesperson Cornelius Mweto at one point, rubbished these claims, as well as we are yet to get the Ministry of Agriculture on a comment over this same issue.
Yeah, we are yet to get a comment indeed, and we did speak about Madam Charity Katanga, and we're not going to comment further, but we're still picking your cause in terms of what is your contribution, your opinion on the call by President Hakainde Hichilema that his cabinet ministers need training to ensure that effectiveness in delivering to the needs of the country is enhanced, even as we get to close the show. We're in the dying minutes, but we can still get those contributions so long as you're able to get us either via Facebook or through calling in on the numbers on your screen, and we'll be very appreciative to hear from you in terms of your perspective.
Do you hold the view that this training has come at a very wrong time, given the fact that, as a country we have these economic challenges that we need to deal with, and then we're talking about resources, because training, of course, of these cabinet ministers will require a lot of resources. Do you think this is the appropriate time, or do you think this would have been done much earlier? What is your view over there? The president has emphasized that this is in order to ensure accountability and effectiveness in their delivery of work. Do you hold the same view? Give us your contribution on Facebook, as well as those watching us in the comfort of your home, what you think about this particular issue. And moving forward, Nelson, just a reminder to our viewers that some of those who might have missed an update on the court regarding the former Deputy Inspector General of Police, we have seen that the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, has now moved an application before the Economic and Financial Crimes Court High Court decision to ensure that the 10 Higer buses that belongs to the former Deputy IG be forfeited to the state. This comes after her conviction for 3 years simple imprisonment by the subordinate court. We did see on Monday the former Deputy IG being sentenced to 3 years simple imprisonment by the Lusaka's Magistrate Court after it was ruled that the state proved the case beyond reasonable doubt against her. But now we have another interesting application before the Lusaka High Court, which is the specialized economic and financial crimes court division, where now the DPP is seeking that all those 10 Haiger buses be forfeited to the state, because they are saying that these were illegally acquired, hence should be forfeited to the state. One interesting ad, someone would say, imagine after being sentenced to prison, and then now we have this application being made by the state. It's a very quite delicate. I don't know how I can put it, but
it's a double loss.
It's a double loss. Yes. No, we really can't say it's a double loss, because we are yet to get the ruling of the final verdict of what the court will rule on this issue. The application was filed yesterday, and we are also yet to get a response from the convict herself through our lawyers.
Yeah, and I think those are some of the updates that we'll also get to follow. But looking at time, which has never been our best friend, and something that is also something that we cannot run away from when it comes to ensuring that we maybe take back time or we move it forward. We'll have to call it a wrap. But even as we do so, maybe your closing remarks, if any. I mean,
we're still in the month of love.
Okay.
Yes. So I am still receiving gifts. I haven't received from you, Nelson. Yeah. Those are my remarks.
Anyway, we get to close on a lighter note with Miriam Kayamba definitely calling for that gift. We're still in the month of love. It's coming on it's ending. This month is ending on the 29th of February 2024. And for those that are celebrating their birthdays, born on the 29th, it is this time that they are able to celebrate, because next year it's not
there to be on the 28th.
Exactly, but I can safely confirm that as for now, even as we get to close, I know one of the topics or one of the talks out there is the fact that all roads, as for now, they lead to Chipata, where everything is Nchwala ceremony.
Exactly.
And they want to do the Lishombe dance. They want to showcase that skill with the Ngonis over there as they get to celebrate their traditional ceremony that is being looked at under the theme cultural pride in reconciliation for national unity. And we'll be able also to pick out some of the interesting factors that might be coming from there. But from myself, Nelson Zulu, and Miriam Kaimba, this is where we call it a wrap. It's been the Thursday edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show, where we talk politics, policy, and governance. And thank you so much for being part of this broadcast. Until next time, keep it on Camnet, not just another channel.